Could you afford an unexpected $500 expense? What about a $1,000 expense? If you're anything like over half of all Americans, you said no to one of those questions. You've probably heard that you're supposed to have an emergency fund, but you don't know where to start or how to build one, hence why you clicked on this video. Nowadays, having an emergency fund is a necessity and not a luxury, and I'm sure you intrinsically know this. The world is as uncertain as ever. Corporate loyalty is a thing of the past. They'll lay you off whenever it best suits them. They don't really care about you. Even without a global crisis like COVID or a war in Ukraine, emergencies such as a sudden illness, disability, car repairs, or a leaky roof can be really costly, and you never know when one of these expensive road bumps is going to hit you. The generally accepted advice for the size of that emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. But when you start adding up how much money that actually is, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The average single American spends about $3,400 a month, or about $20,000 over 6 months on required expenses alone. It may seem impossible to ever save up that much money, but despite the seemingly daunting task, we need to do it. So how can you afford to save for such a massive amount for an emergency fund? Well, today I'll show you how to build an emergency fund from scratch, and I'll show you 5 ways to save hundreds of dollars a month, which you can then use to add to your emergency fund or invest. But before we jump in, if you like learning about how to improve your own personal financial situation, or you just like learning about the world of business in a non-sensationalized way, consider clicking that little subscribe button, as it's completely free, and I really think that you're going to benefit from the information that I put in my videos. Plus, if you end up not liking it, you can always unsubscribe. I won't have any hard feelings, I promise. Now, let's talk about how to save enough to have a real emergency fund. First of all, each of us is different, and although I quoted the average number of $20,000 earlier, that's just an average. So the first step in building your emergency fund is putting together a list of your monthly expenses. As you do this, you will probably find things you spend more money on than you thought you did. That's okay. Write down the things you think you're spending too much money on, and then let's move on to step 2. The next step is to set a plan to build your emergency fund. The Romans didn't build Rome in a day, and you won't make your emergency fund in a day either. So set a time frame within which you want to aim to build your emergency fund. It can be as short as a couple of months or as long as 5 years. But for this example, let's try to aim in the middle around 2.5 years. Let's say that you're trying to save $10,000 for your emergency fund. It may seem like an astronomical, impossible task at first. Where on earth are you going to get the extra $10,000? But when you split it up over 60 months, that's only $166 a month. Or over 30 months, it's $333 a month. Now you might be rolling your eyes at the screen saying, Kobe, those are still some pretty sizable monthly amounts. And you're right, but we have a plan in the rest of the video to make that money, plus $300 a month is way more manageable than a $10,000 check all at once. So how should you get that extra couple $100s a month? A great place to start is looking at things that you're not really using anymore. The average American spends $219 a month on subscriptions alone. Now, I'm not saying you have to cancel all of them, but it's really wise to double check that you actually use them all and cancel the ones that you aren't using or hardly ever use. Are you actually using that gym membership you bought in January? Do you actually get your car washed enough to justify the car wash membership? Do you actually use that streaming service you got? If you actually watch all the Marvel shows on Disney+, great, keep it. But if you just got it to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi and you haven't touched it since, it may be worth canceling or pausing. Likewise, if you go to the gym regularly and get your car washed regularly, great, keep those memberships, they're amazing for you. But if not, don't pay for stuff you don't use. Next up, eat out less. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, Americans spend on average $67 a week or $3,458 a year eating out. Packing a lunch or cooking at home will save you so much money. If you want to see how much money you can actually save by not eating out, or you just want to see if those food delivery kits you always see ads for like HelloFresh are actually worth your money, then you should definitely watch this video after this one. Another tremendous money-saving tactic is carpooling to work, especially if you have a longer commute. Carpooling will help you save money and help the environment at the same time. Let's say you have an average US commute of 41 miles and you burn about 2.5 gallons of gasoline doing that. That's $10 a day, which turns into $200 a month. If you could split that with a friend, or even better, 2 friends, you'd save at least $100 on gas alone. And that's not even considering the money you'd save from reduced depreciation on your car by not driving it as much. A car with 20,000 miles is worth a lot more than a car with 100,000 miles, and I know that's extreme, but you get the idea. Along the lines of traveling, doing a staycation can help give your personal finances some breathing room and give your emergency fund a real jumpstart. Whoever said that you had to fly somewhere for $1,000 just to spend hundreds of dollars a night on a hotel? Sure, is it cooler to travel to Hawaii or Italy or somewhere cool like that? Yeah, but the most important part of a vacation is spending time with those that you love, and you can do that as easily at home as you can in some faraway place. Unless your family lives far away, then yeah, it makes sense you gotta travel to them. Another great way to turbocharge your emergency fund is when you get a raise or bonus at work, put that additional money straight into the emergency fund. You were living off $60,000 before, right? So you should be able to live off $60,000 even when you're making $70,000 and save the difference. Delaying your gratification will be well worth the peace of mind. Now, you might wonder, when I say put it in the emergency fund, what does that even mean? And that's a great question. Your emergency fund should not be synonymous with your checking account. If it is, you'll be tempted to use it like a piggy bank and spend more on stuff than you actually should. So you should put your emergency fund in a high yield savings account. And right now, it's a great time for high yield savings accounts. Lots of banks are actually offering quite substantial rates on high yield savings accounts. For example, Apple offers 4.1%, SoFi offers 4.4%, and Citizens offers 4.5%. Putting your money in a high yield savings account will make you less likely to spend it, and if you have $10,000 in one of these accounts, you would make about $440 in a year from doing absolutely nothing. Hopefully this crash course on how to build an emergency fund has been helpful to you. If it was, click that subscribe button. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.